So as we begin this afternoon, we want to pause for a land acknowledgement. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt the ongoing erasure of the atrocities suffered by the original inhabitants of these lands, and to recognize history as a stepping stone towards healing. We recognize these lands as the ancestral land of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Squaxin Island tribe, as well as the Nisqually, Chehalis, and Cowlitz tribes. We honor and respect the elders past, present, and emerging. We extend that respect to the diverse indigenous peoples whose ancient relationships with the land and waterways continue to this present day. Thank you.
As we talk about widening the net of awareness, we also wanted to pause this evening and remember and recognize the fatal shootings in Colorado Springs. This is the recorded 6th mass shooting this month, and this is also the Trans Day of Remembrance. To this day, there have been 32 persons of trans orientation who have been killed in our country, 81% of those being people of color. We recognize that in the diverse membership of Interfaith Works, there's a plurality of positions, politically and civil. We recognize and honor that diversity, but as an organization today, we wanted to pause and recognize the full sacredness and humanity of all persons, LGBTQ, straight, queer, however you name yourself. We honor you, we recognize you, and we praise you. During this time of acknowledgement, Interfaith Works would also like to recognize the passing of local civil rights leader and Lacey Mayor and City Council member Virgil Clarkson. Mr. Clarkson was a good friend of Interfaith Works and frequently attended this very event. And he never hesitated to encourage Interfaith Works to be proactive in efforts to fight racism and build beloved communities. So we remember him this evening. Thank you.
Our theme this year is the path of healing. We see healing happening every day in the lives of those who live at the emergency shelter in Unity Commons at 2828 Martin Way. Interfaith Works operates the supportive 24/7 shelter and peer navigation for the residents in the 64 apartments of permanent supportive housing, as well as the 58-bed shelter in the first floor of Unity Commons. Every day we witness how a space that is clean, private, safe, and warm fosters deep healing and stabilization in our residents on every level: bodies, minds, hearts, and souls. Unity Commons is also home to a newer program where some of the shelter beds are dedicated to people released from the hospital with nowhere to go to heal. The program is called REST, which stands for Restorative Experience for a Safer Transition. Recently, I hosted an episode of our bi-weekly podcast, Lean in Olympia, that Corey and I co-host each month, that featured two managers from the REST program who told the story of a man we welcomed into Unity Commons through REST. When he met with our team, he was told that all he wanted, or when he met with us, he told us when he was setting his goals that all he wanted to do was not die alone and outside after being given a diagnosis of a short time period. We were able to give him a bed in Unity Commons, and while he stayed with us, we coordinated community hospice options for him. We were able to connect him with our longtime partners at Hospice Without Borders, and a few weeks later, he did pass away, but not outside, not alone, but surrounded by dedicated volunteers caring for his need and bearing witness to his dignity and his passing. And though we mourned his death, we also celebrated that he could pass in a place of safety and community on his own terms.
So thank you all for your ongoing support. We wanted to share that story with you all as a way to remember and celebrate how your support uplifts the lives of those we serve through our homeless services. There are so many more stories to tell and much work ahead, but we're so glad you're here, and we want to begin our program by welcoming Barnett Kalikow, who will offer a greeting on behalf of the host community this evening. Hi, Barnett.
Thank you, Corey. I teared up a little bit at the last story. Yes, I am Barnett Kalikow, a member of the congregation here, and I want to welcome all of you to Temple Beth Hatfiloh. Beth Hatfiloh literally means house of prayer. The name comes from Isaiah, and the words are inscribed right here above my head. Ki beiti bet tefillah yikareh lechol ha'amim. My house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples. As an interfaith aside, some of you, my Christian friends, may recognize the phrase and the sentiment repeated several times in the Gospels. Regardless of how we get to it in practice or in sacred writings, we have a common spiritual directive in a holy place for all peoples: respect, empathy, love for all who dwell on earth, and awe and gratitude for creation and Creator. Love your neighbor as yourself. Treat others as you wish to be treated. As the Prophet Muhammad said, "Not one of you truly believes until you wish for others that which you wish for yourself." Or as the Buddha, Confucius, and the Talmudic sage Rabbi Hillel expressed it in identical terms, "Whatever is hateful to yourself, do not do unto another." And Rabbi Hillel added, "That is the entire law, the rest is commentary." As the sign says, this is for all peoples, not just those who share one's own path. In the Torah behind me, 36 times it commands that we must treat others, the stranger, hager in Hebrew, with love and compassion. It is repeated more than any other commandment. And this explanation goes with most of those 36 times. It is because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You know the heart of the reviled, the outcast, the slave, the stranger, and you must empathize and respect. But we are tribal humans, all of us. We carve out exceptions to justify our mistreatment of the other. They do not need empathy and compassion or respect because, well, their skin is brown, or they express love differently. They are sinners, savages, and must be brought around or civilized, that is, forced to talk, dress, and act, and believe more like us before they can earn our basic respect for their humanity. This even in the face of the universal teaching that the heart's duty of compassion and respect is for kol ha'amim, all peoples. There is a particular grating irony when we Europeans come as strangers and then treat the indigenous peoples as if they were the strangers in their own lands. Let's not forget that other spiritual imperative that we commemorate at this season, the heart's awakening to awe and gratitude for creation and Creator. Surely a universal Creator assumes a universal human family. We come together to explore both of those soul imperatives and seek to heal some of the wounds to ourselves and to others that comes from our failings and those of our forebears to live up to the obligations that accompany the life breath freely given. So welcome. We're beginning the program this afternoon with music from the Olympia Peace Singers. The Olympia Peace Singers is an ensemble drawn from the larger Olympia Peace Choir, whose voices often serve as the soundtrack for events exploring social justice and peace in the Olympia community. I invite Carrie Lynn Nichols and the Olympia Peace Singers up here to the bema now.
Blessed Be is a song of celebration that uses the tree of life metaphor to joyfully express our gratitude for the human connection to generations that have come before us and those yet to come. Composer Melanie DeMore shares the following when talking about her inspiration for the text of Blessed Be. Trees are shelter. Trees are sanctuary and symbols of antiquity and strength. Trees are the living embodiment of the passage of time. They endure scarring and disease, and they become gnarled and creaky, yet they remain steadfast. They can grow despite the changes happening around them. Trees live in harmony with their surroundings much longer than humans do. They are always an inspiration, especially in winter, when their skeleton forms can be seen against the pale sky.
Blessed be, blessed be the living tree. Blessed be, blessed be the living tree. Blessed be, blessed be the living tree. Blessed be, blessed be the living tree.
Blessed be the tree of life that grows within you and me. Blessed be the tree of life.
The living tree.
Blessed be the tree of life that grows within you and me. Blessed be the tree of life. Blessed be the tree of life that grows within you and me. Blessed be the tree of life. Steady and true, rooted in love, Thank you. Shalom Aleichem. Can you say that? Shalom Aleichem. In Hebrew, it's peace for all of us. This phrase and this song began to appear in Hebrew liturgy about 500 years ago in Safed, Israel, and now has become an important part of the Friday night liturgy. And it has been translated in other languages. You might hear it in other languages and hear it in other congregational or faith communities. And basically, it's peace for all of us and represents that universal striving for peace for all people.
Thank you. I want to welcome Katie Guertin-Anderson at this point. She's an ordained minister in the Presbyterian Church, works as a hospice chaplain, and she's a member of the Community for Interfaith Celebration here in Olympia, Washington.
Good afternoon. I am very grateful to be here and to share a poem that I think resonates deeply with the healing work of this event and our hopes for our own beloved community here. My offering today is a poem by Allison, Adelle, Hedge, a poet, editor, mentor, professor, among many other things, and she describes herself as having mixed heritage, including Huron, Metis, French-Canadian, Portuguese, English, Irish, Scot, and mixed Southeastern Native heritage. She considers this poem to be an extension of two poems that I learned in high school English and American history, Walt Whitman's I Hear America Singing and Langston Hughes' I Too. And I would like to think, or at least hope, that if I were back in high school today, that this is the poem that I would learn. It's an essential voice, a woman's voice, an indigenous voice on the identity of America and Hedge Coke's hopes and dreams for what's possible for all of us. As she says this of the poem, and I quote, "There's always something at work beyond us. No matter how bad things get, there's a way to make things over. There's a way to add love and to restore balance again." So again, my offering, America, I Sing You Back, by Allison, Adelle, Hedge Coke. And she dedicates this poem to Phil Young and her father, Robert Hedge Coke, and also for Whitman and Hughes. America, I sing back. Sing back what sung you in. Sing back the moment you cherished breath. Sing you home into yourself and back to reason. Before America began to sing, I sung her to sleep, held her, cradle board, wept her into day. My song gave her creation, prepared her for delivery, held her severed cord beautifully beaded. My song helped her stand, held her hand for first steps, nourished her very being, fed her, placed her 3 sisters strong. My song comforted her as she battled. My reason broke my long-held footing, sure as any child might do. As she pushed herself away, forced me to remove myself as I cried this country, my song grew roses in each tear's fall. My blood-veined rivers painted pipestone quarries, circled canyons while she made herself maiden fine. But here I am, here I am, here I remain high on each and every peak, carefully rumbling her great underbelly, prepared to pour forth singing. And sing again I will, as I have always done. Never silenced unless in the company of strangers, singing the stoic face polite, repose polite, while dancing deep inside polite, mother of her world, sister of myself. When my song sings aloud again, when I call her back to cradle, call her to peer into waters, to behold herself in dark and light, day and night, call her to sing along, call her to mature, to envision, then she will quake herself over. My song will make it so. When she grows far past her self-considered purpose, I will sing her back, sing her back. I will sing, oh, I will, I do, America. I sing back what sung you in.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. I now welcome Billy Harris, Dena Harris, and Layli Harris to perform the song Unite.
So this song that we're going to share with you right now is a song composed by a gentleman by the name of Ali Youssefi, and it is from the writings of the Baha'i faith. And would love for you to join us and sing along if you catch on. The song, the lyrics go, unite and bind together the hearts. Join in accord all the souls. O Lord, make these faces radiant with the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Together the hearts, unite and bind. Together the hearts, join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together. Join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Everyone, unite and bind together.
Faces radiant through the light of thy oneness.
So the next song that we're going to sing is a song that was composed in Malawi, African country, and it is sung in the language of Chichewa. You're welcome to learn it and follow along. The first line is in your program there, but it's Kodi Palinso Wina is the first line of that. And this comes from a prayer in the Baha'i faith. Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, and that's where that quote ends, but then it goes, say, praise be God, he is God, all are his servants, and all abide by his bidding. So in this prayer, this idea that we're learning to remove those difficulties and asking for those help, when we think about healing and the theme and the work that's been done, that idea of removing difficulties and the oneness that happens from there. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Ochotsa Masotso, Kupachela Malongo. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Ochotsa Masotso, Kupachela Malongo. Nenani, 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 nenani. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Ochotsa Masotso. Kupachela Malungo. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Ochotsa Masotso, Kupachela Malungo. Nenani, 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 nenani. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Wochotsa, Masoto, Kubachila Malungu. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Wochotsa, Masoto, Kubachila Malungu. Kubachila Malungu, Nenani. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Wochotsa, Masoto, Kubachila Malungu, Kubachila Malungu. Kodi Palinso Wina, Kodi Palinso Wina, Wochotsa, Masoto, Kubachila Malungu. Nenani, 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 oh, Nenani, oh, Nenani, oh, Nenani, Nenani, Nenani.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to welcome Mr. Lance Madison for a reflection on healing from the Christian Science perspective.
Thank you. As a Christian Scientist, I'm so grateful to be a participant in today's timely soul searching on how to advance the healing of racism and colonial injustices. For me, true gratitude to a bountiful God envisions redemption and a righting of past wrongs. I've seen such spiritual vision awaken a powerful expression of love that actively embraces all and is grounded in the truth that makes free. Here's an example. In the 1980s, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Mali, West Africa. A precious little child of 4 or 5 often stopped by my open office window to see what I was doing. One day, he looked sick and languid. As I lifted him into my lap, wrapping my arms around him, I found he was burning up with fever. The nearest medical facilities were too far away. So I prayed as I'd been taught in Christian Science. I appealed to and acknowledged the Father, Mother God's tender love and care for all of us. A love that the Bible indicates is impartial, accessible, and efficacious. I mentally protested against the egregious injustice of sickness attacking this child's God-bestowed innocence and joy, and the spiritual baselessness of this child's suffering. I felt I was glimpsing divine justice and the healing and its healing presence. The child walked home, and the next day I saw him playing normally in the compound. I was, of course, grateful to God. It's from this actionable spiritual basis that Christian Scientists today strive to help heal racism and historical injustices, though we recognize that we haven't always gotten it right in practice. Mary Baker Eddy, who founded this religion in the 19th century, offered a critique of pro-slavery theology that applies with equal force to the purported religious rationalizations of Western colonial injustices. She taught that evils such as these must be exposed and overcome with the authority and power of God, good, as Jesus Christ did. It was from this healing foundation that, even in early declaring slavery as a great evil of her day, pointing out religion's complicity in its practice, and commenting on the looming danger of 20th century imperialism, she challenged her church and society as a whole to a standard of progress and conscience that hopefully we're glimpsing more of today. She saw God, or divine love, as the ultimate liberator of humankind from all evil. And she wrote in her book, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, quote, "God has built a higher platform of human rights, and he has built it on diviner claims," unquote. And she continued with the assertion that it takes more than, quote, code or creed, but a demonstration of on-earth peace, goodwill toward men, close quote. Eddie taught her followers to patiently live and share this Bible-based sense of God as an ever-present restorative power, and to ensure that her followers engaged with the world factually and progressively, she founded an international newspaper, the Christian Science Monitor. My own perspective on healing historic injustices is shaped in part by my 9 years working out of East Jerusalem for a nonprofit partnering with Palestinians on development projects. The atmosphere there was at times explosive, and I often found myself quietly praying for inspiration and divine direction, with the aim of advancing useful projects that all sides could accept. I prayed to better understand the present power and intelligence of the one God, the limitless divine mind governing all. And I stuck with that spiritual vision despite the deadlocks. Repeatedly, I saw this approach contribute to breakthroughs. In one such case, Palestinians in Hebron felt it unjust that for historic reasons, their region had no modern hospital facilities. The obstacles to building a new hospital seemed insurmountable. My prayers for a just outcome and my respect for the devout Muslim Palestinian physicians leading the project impelled me to help actively in facilitating the initial funding, permitting, construction, and equipping of the hospital. Support finally came from such unexpected bedfellows as Israel, the PLO, and Arab and Western funders, and at least one Christian Scientist. Palestinians now operate their own 250-bed hospital in Hebron. For Christian Scientists, acting justly means striving to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. I'd like to conclude on this golden rule note, and echoing Barnett's remarks. It's such a widely approved empathy norm to build on, but isn't it also an affirmative call to action? A unifying basis for meaningfully redressing all injustice, including the gravest of past collective injustices. Perhaps we can learn something from the patriarch Jacob, who wrestled honestly with his own troubled history until he was touched by a transformative spiritual vision that empowered him to reconcile lovingly with his wronged brother Esau and say to him, "I have seen thy face as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me." Thank you, and happy wrestling.
Thank you. I now invite the Alleluia Handbell Ensemble for 2 musical offerings.
handbells are a distinct instrument, where each bell is a single note, but when played together, make a full song. This group was formed explicitly for this event from 5 different churches and 4 different Protestant Christian denominations.
Balm in Gilead is an African-American spiritual published in over 100 hymnals and sung by Christian congregations of many races and denominations. The refrain offers hope in the face of despair, courage in times of trial, and healing for the spiritually wounded. The refrain is, "There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul." We acknowledge the additional injustices to the enslaved men and women musicians in America who never received compensation for their spirituals, and we are grateful for their music and honored to play it. Katharina von Schlegel, 18th century German hymnist and composer of Be Still My Soul, may have been inspired by God's promise in Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. And the psalmist's reassurance in Psalm 46, verse 11, the Lord is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Her hymn begins, Be still, my soul, the Lord is on your side. Bear patiently the cross of grief and pain. Leave to your God to order and provide. In every change, God faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, your best, your heavenly friend, through thorny ways leads to a joyful end. Paired with Jean Sibelius's tune Finlandia in the early 20th century, Be Still My Soul has been included in 164 hymnals of the Christian tradition. The calming music soothes troubled souls, and its poetry offers hope and healing through reliance on a faithful God.
Thank you so much. I want to welcome Ibrahim Hafsal. Greetings, welcome. He's in the 8th grade at Aspire Middle School, and he and his family are here today, and they attend Masjid al-Nur. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizers for arranging such a beautiful event. It does not just require a lot of time and effort, but also commitment and passion to do such a thing. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for clearing time off your busy schedules and coming all this way and listening to what you have to say. And if you already forgot, my name is Ibrahim Afzal. I'm 13 years old, and I'm in 8th grade. I'm from the Islamic Center of Olympia, Masjid al-Nur, and I'll be giving you a short talk about healing, or the Islamic perspective. So, as we know, one big event that happened, and is still going on today, is the pandemic. The pandemic directly caused a lot of stress, as you know, the worry of getting sick from the virus, or even worse, but indirectly caused a lot more stress. For example, because of the pandemic, everything went into lockdown, and all the business started closing, people started losing jobs, and you couldn't make money, and so on and so forth. These type of domino effects happened everywhere, and made life a lot more complicated, and a lot of stress and anxiety. And in Islam, there's lots of ways to deal with stress and anxiety, but I'll be giving you 2 ways that I did. So first and foremost, we believe in one God, Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. We also believe in a life after death, a hereafter of sorts, and in the hereafter there will be no pain and no suffering, not all this stress and anxiety you get from this world, and we'll be rewarded for our good deeds and we'll stay with our loved ones forever. To connect with my Creator, I pray, 5 times every single day. We read our holy book, the Quran, we do charity, all this sort of good stuff, and anytime we're worried or anxious about anything like a test, an appointment, anything like that, I just pray and ask help from Allah. The second strategy is to cope with stress and anxiety is to relieve someone else's stress. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever alleviates the pain or suffering from others, Allah will alleviate his pain and suffering." This strategy helps a lot, and there is a psychological side to it. When you alleviate someone else's stress, someone who is suffering or hurt, you see the blessings that you have. It could be health, family, friends, anything. And you can do small things like listening to someone, giving sincere advice, or even a cheerful voice can mean a lot to other people. I'd like to share one example. So recently we had end of the term test or quarter test, and it's a math test, and me and my friend had chores and other activities, so he didn't have time to study for the test. So I offered my help. I was like, "Oh, hey bro, you want to come and I'll help you with studying at lunch or at the bus or anything." So we practice every now and then. And it helped my math skills a lot and helped his. But I also learned what big of a blessing it is to have free time. It's a blessing that most of us take for granted, and I'm very gracious to have it. As you know, not everyone has this gracious blessing. Hopefully, these 2 strategies might help others in the journey of healing as it did for me. And again, I'd like to thank everybody who made this possible.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you. I know that everyone's going to take that advice with us as we go today. I would love to now welcome the Bridge Music Project. We are going to hear 3 awesome original songs by Amanda Ransom, Michael Jones, and Victoria Standoak.
All right, don't mistake the all white for me being all prepared, because I am definitely not, okay? So I am with the Bridge Music Project. We help youth get through music. We teach them to write music, record it, and perform it as well. And this started off actually in about 2014 or so. I was actually in the first Bridge session there. I was actually about 14, 15 years old. And I started with the Bridge because I was a troublesome youth trying to get through the world, and I was angry. And with today, our theme being healing, I think it's appropriate to speak about that. I used to get angry with my family. I used to go to juvie, things like that. But I've turned my life around, and I became an adult, which isn't always the best thing, okay? Bills are not the greatest thing in the world there. But I do think that music has helped me through getting through a lot of those issues. Music is something that helps you connect with the most truest form of yourself. When people do music, they can speak about anything. They can talk about different worlds that they visited in their dreams. They can talk about the God that they ask for forgiveness from, or that they ask for assistance from. Music can speak to people that you may never have spoken to in person. You can record a track and somebody all the way across the water there can hear it, and you'll never know. Music is amazing, but enough about music, because I don't want you guys to hear me talk all day and just ramble on and on and on, okay? But I do have a poem for you guys that I have written myself, and it is about my life as well. This is called The Bridge, and it has nothing to do with the bridge, okay? It's just called The Bridge, all right? But here it is, okay? My words used to feel like they had no meaning, left in the dust for no one to hear. The dust used to fill my lungs with anger and regret. I just want to breathe. Group home and alone, just me, with only the moon to talk to at night. Surrounded by so many people, yet I feel so alone. Be a man, they said. Men don't cry. Bottle it up inside. My words used to feel like they had no meaning. Trying to find my life, but it's all just fleeting. 4 different high schools, 4 different lives, but one constant suffering that's eating at my mind. My words used to feel like they had no meaning. Then I picked up a pen, grabbed a sheet of paper, words flowing through the page like water in a river. The music was my lifeboat. From the water I rise, mind over matter, rhymes to the rafters, on stage sharing my heart, and I found what I was after. Community, acceptance, friends, family. You will hear my voice. You will hear our voices, because we are you. My words used to feel like they had no meaning, but my words have meaning, and I have meaning. The Bridge. Thank you very much, guys. So now I'm gonna bring back the real stars of our show here, the real stars, not just me. I mean, I'm pretty bright up there, but not quite there just yet. So I'm gonna bring up Amanda Ransom here. Yes, you may clap, you may clap. Thank you, Amanda. And she has some words for you as well, so don't let me take the limelight. Here she is, Amanda Ransom. Yes.
Oh man, as a singer, you'd be surprised how nervous I get to talk in front of people. This event, when I was asked to speak and sing something, I thought it was perfect because I'm in a healing season of my life, but I also just recently found Christ. So I can kind of tell you how those things came together really quick, since you guys have been so patient sitting through all those other words. But first of all, my name's Amanda. I'm 21 years old, and a couple months ago, I was pushed to rock bottom and managed to pick myself back up again. I was on a road trip. I kind of had like an after-college break, and I was like, I'm just going to go on a road trip. I'm going to explore the country. And when I was in Nashville, Tennessee, I found out that my 5-year relationship had ended. This person that was my best friend, the person I thought I was going to marry. And when you're young like me, like I know I don't know a lot, but I knew that and I knew I had that. So, and when you're in love, you have a idea of what your life is going to look like, and when that goes away, it's very scary. And so here I was, 2,000 miles from home, all alone, and I knew that I didn't have a job to come home to, and I didn't know what my life was going to look like. And my friend Alex maybe took me to a faith-based songwriting showcase there in Nashville, and I listened to all of these people giving their testimonies through songs, and it changed my life. I like to joke that God held my hand the whole way home over the Rocky Mountains, through the deserts of Utah. I did this all by myself, and like through the plains of Eastern Oregon, because I was scared. I was scared of what I was coming home to. I didn't know if I was going to make it home. So there was that, but I also am a musician, I'm a songwriter, and music has always helped me heal. Like through the bridge, I used to be a participant. I just became too old to be a participant, so I became a mentor, which is really cool. But to bridge those two things together, didn't mean to do that, but that's cool. To bridge those two things together, I started writing an album about this heartbreak because I had all of these feelings. I had to put them somewhere, and writing these songs was so incredibly painful because of how raw and vulnerable I had to allow myself to be. But it was like therapy, and I rediscovered parts of myself that I had let drift away. I remembered how capable I am and how full of ambition I am. God knew that I had more in me than just living my life to work and settle down and do what everyone else was doing. He knew I had the power to heal others through song. It just wasn't going to be a painless journey to get there. You see, there's no flowers without rain. There are no highs without lows, and it's only from our hardships where we learn the most important lessons in life. And that healing that we are all going through is never linear. Healing is a bumpy journey that will try to throw you off and will have you doubting yourself. But what I've learned is you must put your faith in God, hold on tight, and be a light to others. Psalm 23:4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I'm going to sing an original song I wrote called Temporary Feelings.
Lights are out, but you're all that I can see. My heart is shaking in its grave and bursting at the seams. I can't help thinking this is how it has to be. Maybe right here, right now is all I ever need. Time and time again, I relive the past. Lonely little nightmare I've been living, but I left it all behind to be forgiven. Ooh, which part of me is gonna shine through today? They come and they go as they please. Temporary feelings, remember you are breathing. They can be deceiving. Your heart is still beating. You fall off the edge and get right back up again. Your heart is still beating. Temporary feelings. sit and wait for that fog to clear. Sick of thinking I'm not going anywhere. Get me off this ride, but my heart just please decide which way to go, 'cause I am tired. Ooh, it is just fine to let go. It isn't always gonna be alright. My life has changed. I used to fake the smile on my face. It's been a long, long ride. Which part of me is gonna shine through today? They come and they go as they please. Temporary feelings, remember you are breathing. They can be deceiving. Your heart is still beating. You fall off the edge and get right back up again. Your heart is still beating. Temporary feelings. Thank you.
All right, all right. That was Amanda Ransom, everybody. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was amazing and very moving. So now I would like to bring up Victoria, who has just as an amazing voice and will play you just as good. All right, there we go.
That's good. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Victoria Standoak. And before I even start, I want you to turn to your neighbor, to your left or to your right. I just want you to say, you are not alone. When it comes to eternal healing, I feel like sometimes we need more than ourselves in a journey of healing. With me, music, such a big thing when it comes to healing. For example, Amanda, she just sung a song and it really touched me. Her words really touched me and it really pulled my heart, and that's what music does. It makes us have realizations. It makes us draw connections. And I really felt connected to that piece. She mentioned she found Christ. I remember back in 2020, I found Christ again. It took me a while. My grandma passed away like 7 years before that, and I would write poems because I never knew how to talk about my feelings or emotions. I was never really guided with that, so I kind of had to go on my own journey. So it took years to find healing and support, but eventually I found it. And I want you to know that you are not alone. You have a sense of community here. And if you don't feel like it, look around you right now. There's an opportunity right here. And I wrote this song a couple months ago. It's called Home Away from Home. And the chorus for me is a prayer to God saying, guide me home, even when I'm on my own, even when I feel alone, and when I'm on the road. Life continues to move. It always moves. And to him, I just wanted to just say, I'm going to follow you even when I feel lost, even when I feel confused, even if I'm worried or stressed out. So here's my song called Home Away from Home. I hope you enjoy. People aren't your enemy, so don't get it twisted. I know about a lot of things, but I feel like something's missing. Perfection ain't a guarantee, so why are you tripping? We're just human beings, and we mess up in an instant. And I'm not gonna lie, I crave acceptance, and that's what's hurting me. And I'm not gonna lie, I crave perfection, and that's what's haunting me. Guide me home, even when I'm on my own, even when I feel alone, and when I'm on the road. Guide me home, even when I'm on my own, even when I feel alone, and when I'm on the road. Labels on acknowledging the distance that's between us. Comparing is a reality that keep blindfolds on us. Life is beautiful. Just take a look around you. And how can you not see the beauty that's in front of you? And I'm not gonna lie, I crave acceptance, and that's what's hurting me. And I'm not gonna lie, I crave perfection, and that's what's haunting me. Guide me home, even when I'm on my own, even when I feel alone, and when I'm on the road. Guide me home, even when I'm on my own, even when I feel alone, and when I'm on the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the members of the Bridge for being here. Appreciate y'all. I want to welcome our keynote tonight, Jared Koepp. Jared Koepp is the program specialist for Native Student Program Specialist for North Thurston Public Schools. I had the honor of having a Lean and Olympia episode recently with Jared, and it was just such a wonderful way to get to know him. Just want to welcome you here tonight, Jared. Jared is the Washington State 2022 Washington State Teacher of the Year, and we appreciate you being here today. How would you like to sit? Stand up. Okay, good.
So, thank you, everyone. I never could imagine ever being in a space such as this to be able to share my story and to connect with you on such an important time of the year. It's kind of a big responsibility. So as I multitask here like a boss, Yeah, so I thought, let's be different. And just kind of have some story time. And let me check my watch. Because after a year of traveling the country and giving keynotes and speeches, you'd be surprised at how few places actually have a clock. So I want to make sure we all get out at a decent time and the sun doesn't set by the time I'm done telling my story. I'm the 2022 Washington State Teacher of the Year. I'm the first Native American in our state to hold the title. And that comes, thank you. And so I figured this is a special place, so I should go about sharing some stories with you today to connect in a special and different way. So a lot of this is unusually unscripted for me, and so I'm going to kind of come from the heart and see what my ancestors kind of whisper into my ears today. So thinking about sort of the origins of sort of my spiritual awareness as a child, and I grew up a-religious. The stories I remember the most came pretty early on from my dad, who at a very early age, actually, about the time I was born, he was diagnosed with a very rare autoimmune disease. And about this time, he was, spent, a good chunk of his time in the hospital in intensive care while his doctors struggled frantically to try to figure out what was wrong with him and try to keep him from bleeding to death internally. And my dad was a very active, hardworking guy, worked for the city of Richland, was well-loved by many, many people who would come consistently with great dedication to his bedside every day to keep him company, to keep his spirits up, to share their love and support of my mom, as the family kind of struggled with my dad essentially being kind of struck down in the prime of his life at the birth, shortly after the birth of his only son. And I remember him telling me that one day one of his dear friends came in with a special gift. And his friend was a devout Christian and offered my dad his personal Bible. And my dad, hooked up to all sorts of machines, tubes, and monitors, looked at him with love and gratitude in the eyes, and while refusing his friend's gift, pointed with his hand, blood-stained from the inside out, and pointed out to the window and said, "That's my church." And I didn't quite understand that at the age I was hearing that story. So my dad is my German side of the family. But then as I was a little bit older, I remember realizing when I was in church with Dad, and it was often about this time of year, bundled up with my butt frozen to the side of a mountain, as we watched the sun rise over the mountains on opening season. And I could see the beauty and the majesty that spoke so powerfully to him. And I think what made my dad's story connect so much to me, I think kind of help inform my greater understanding of humanity, was that we are all indigenous to somewhere on this earth. All of our ancestors have had or still have intimate relationships and understandings to place. And somehow, through all the many generations of Europe's own colonization of itself, somehow my dad managed to maintain that unbroken spiritual link to, I think, the simple and beautiful connection to earth. My understanding of that, it kind of came in and out. I mean, I was exposed to it, but it didn't really hit home, I would say, until I was kind of beginning my journey as a young Native educator, which is definitely a path you have to create for yourself, because it doesn't really, you can kind of, it sort of exists now, but it definitely didn't when I wanted to become a teacher. And so part of that was, I remember I had to reconnect and reattach to my culture. Being raised sort of dispossessed and detached from our homelands, and just the very real necessity of having to be raised white-coated in white spaces, because for most of this nation's history, it has been so dangerous, even lethal, to be who we are. But in order to support the children that I wanted to commit my life to, I needed to go back home. And so I started up conversations with parts of my family that really hadn't talked for many years. And one of those people I reached out to was my cousin. And Melba, I think like many elders, probably heard my voice on the phone and heard my name. And like many elders, probably just thought, what took you so long? And so I told her about myself and what I was doing, and let her know how my mom was doing, because they grew up very close, and I hadn't seen her since I was just a little kid, and we'd go back to California and visit the family. And so she insisted that I go back home, and by home, that's our ancestral and spiritual home, about a couple hours, hour and a half east of Selma, California, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas, which is currently occupied by the state of California as a state park. So she called me home, and it was a whirlwind. But I think where it really started to hit for me was on the second day, because I was, my wife and I was just a broke college student in grad school, and so we drove like pretty much nonstop, and we were kind of dragging, but my cousin is always just so smart and so full of energy, and I just had to keep up with her. Everyone who knew her, just like, she's someone you keep up with. And so on the second day we were there, she had an appointment with an archaeologist she had been working with to map out our grinding sites. So like many California natives, we're acorn people. Up here they have their salmon people. Down where I'm at, we're acorn people. And so our cultural imprint on the land are often these hollow indentations, sometimes through years of erosion and wear, like you can kind of stick your arm down in them, where we would crack and grind our acorns before leaching them. And so to kind of help preserve and tell our story, she had been working with an archaeologist to chart these out. And so I followed along with them as they were mostly kind of confirming sites they had previously identified. And I noticed that I just couldn't help myself, but I just felt compelled to just kind of wander off a little bit. And before long, I was on hands and knees, digging through the duff and through inches of forest soil, and uncovered a new site that hadn't been mapped. And I know my cousin knew exactly what was happening when she saw it. And so they came over, they charted it, and it kept happening. And I really struggled to process. Like, I knew something happened, but I couldn't quite grapple what was happening. And so I was proposed with a couple radical notions. Like, I hadn't been to this place before. And yet, I knew where these places were. I hadn't been taught where they were. But what if I had never forgotten? Or what if my ancestors were showing me around home? And shortly after that, I was shared with our creation story. And as I'm sure all of you people of faith know just how long a creation story can go, I'm going to give you like the high points just to kind of illustrate a few things. So, long ago, the world was very dark. And so one day, Caillou sent his brother Wolf to the top of a very tall mountain to steal fire. And so away Wolf went next to this big, beautiful lake. He stole a log from a fire, and he brought it back to his brother Caillou. Coyote. Indigenous languages reflect place and land. So like a lot of animals, Caillou says his name. Caillou, right? So we know it's coyote. And so Coyote took this fire, and from that fire, he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. And as the story went on, our animal relations set about creating like the rest of the earth, the rivers, lakes, mountains. Blue Jay set about planting acorn seeds all around the land so that humans would have strong, healthy oaks from which to harvest in the future. But then eventually it came the time for Eagle to realize that it is time that we make humans. And so Eagle is the leader of all the animals. And so to do this, Eagle called for Dove to go call together the representatives of all the animal nations because it was time to create humans. And even now you could probably be thinking like, wow, there's a lot of similar connotations about sending Dove to call for a council. And so all the animals came together to form this very important council because it's time to create humans. And Eagle and Mountain Lion reached into the earth, and from the earth they formed the shape of a man and a woman. But who would humans be? Who would they look like? And so the first to stand up was Grizzly Bear. And Grizzly Bear said, people should be able to stand on their hind legs like me. And so it was. And so Fish spoke up, and Fish said, people have no need for fur or feathers. This way they can swim like me. And then Deer spoke up. It's like, people should be able to run fast like me. And on it went. All of our animal relations giving something of themselves to our betterment. And through another amazing side story, which we definitely don't have time for, we have hands like Chichewa. Now, if you're thinking like, well, what do humans have like that would be similar to an animal relation on the West Coast? Chichewa is lizard. So the education continued, right? So they made 3 sets of man and woman. And the original ancestors set about learning how to spear fish from heron. They learned to sing and weave by watching the birds. And they learned to work together for the common good by watching ants. And when it had seemed that the humans had learned everything there was to learn, Eagle once again called together a council of all the animals. And he said, we must find a new place to live. This place will be for humans. And so the birds flew off into the treetops, into the skies, and the deer and the elk went out to the prairies, and it's been that way ever since. And you really start to see how relatable, but also how easy it is to sort of forget or misunderstand indigenous worldviews. Because we are of the earth, and we are made in the image of our animal relations. We have a connection to creation in a very unique way. And so when we think about it in other terms, so the amazing John Trudell once said that the bone, flesh, and blood of humans are made of the same metals, minerals, and liquids of the earth. And if we can agree that humans have being, and all things on the earth are made of the same metals, minerals, and liquids, then we are all related. We are all connected. And that, for us, brings extra responsibilities, different ways that we carry ourselves within the world. And see, and I can kind of shortcut a lot of stuff since you've already done some good work on the doctrine of discovery. It was when the settlers began to come, we were seen as uncivilized because we had no churches, we had no prisons, we had no courts, we had no police, we had no homelessness, we had no domestic violence, yet we were uncivilized, right? But I think one of the things that I think for the sake of our education and contemplation today is that we're familiar with the idea that settlers came here to extract and exploit natural resources, of which we were often lumped, right? We're familiar with the dispossession. We're maybe more, previously some, the papal bulls, right? That settlers, the colonizers had to figure out ways to justify the theft of land from sovereign nations, and so they used religion to do it, right? So any non-Christian obviously forfeits their land. And this is the story of even America, that when we have an alternative narrative, a counter-narrative, this sort of land discussion becomes key. But as I think now, as we have our harvest season coming up, that we consider another harvest, because shortly after Columbus followed the black robes. And so Western religions wanted a different harvest. They wanted to harvest our souls. They didn't care about our bodies. And so they set about harvesting our souls. And for centuries, different denominations fought very hard and very competitively for this spiritual harvest. And some set about simultaneously a mental colonization, a mental harvest through boarding schools, which religions often worked very closely with. And there's another way that I see this sort of relationship, right? And again, we're not here to feel guilty. We're here to think and be better and join our hands a little bit tighter at the end of the day. But these are stories that aren't told. One of my favorite exhibits at the National Museum of the American Indian, I don't think they have anymore, the last time I was there a few months ago, but shortly after they opened, for a number of years, they had this fantastic exhibit. And being a Smithsonian institution, you can imagine they spared no expense, and they had this beautiful dark wood display case, all glass and wood. And on one side, it had the history of American military firearms and genealogical order. And on the other side, they had the same thing, but for religious texts as they moved to the Americas. And so in this one exhibit, you have two very key aspects of colonization: the physical and the spiritual. It has a lot of implications for us, especially now when we're thinking like, how can we be allies, right? Because almost everyone's right to worship is guaranteed by the First Amendment. But our right to believe and practice the ceremonies and the ways that we do, because it's different. Like we have our own spiritual path. It's different. But we have commonalities in trying to understand our place in the world. The federal government didn't recognize our right to worship the way that we have always done until 1978. So when we think about like Native history, it is far more present and far more recent, and its legacy far more real than we often allow ourselves to think about. And as all people who want to come closer together in community, I think it provides a lot of opportunity, but also new challenges. Because the place, my ancestral and spiritual home that is occupied as a California state park. It's where my ancestors are buried. Where for thousands of years, since eagle and mountain lion formed us from the earth, we have had memories. We have raised children. We have laid to rest loved ones. We've had countless ceremonies and weddings, and all of that is in place. And so where and how and what worship looks like really challenges our relationship to place. When we acknowledge a land, it's like, well, okay, well, maybe I wasn't particularly dispossessed. Maybe I wasn't particularly responsible for this dispossession. But when you look at place, we have to remember that these are actual family. These places hold ceremony. These places hold the same genetic and cultural history as the people who have those relationships with them. So, as I wrap up, I'm a teacher, so I have to have a little bit of lesson. Now, this one's I tend this one to be pretty lighthearted. So, this time of year is, as you can imagine, being a Native educator, is my busiest time of the year. And so a lot of people like to ask us, well, what's a Native perspective on Thanksgiving? So there's really complicated ways, there's long ways, there's documentary sort of ways, but I think language is a really beautiful way to understand the world, right? And so my wife is Chickasaw. So I think the Chickasaw Thanksgiving greeting says a lot about the Native perspective and understanding of Thanksgiving. So in Chickasha-Nompa, Nitak Naholo Initak means Happy Thanksgiving. Literally translated, it means Happy White People Day. So thank you, everyone, for your attention. I hope I left you something to think about, something to laugh about. And I think one of the most beautiful things about us as humans coming together is our ability to listen to hard things, our ability to laugh, and our ability to love a little bit harder every single day. So I hope you have a beautiful holiday season, and thank you again so much for this chance to be with you today.
Thank you, Jared. We so appreciate what you've done this last year. And I also wanted to recognize that there's a great emerging relationship, Jared, between Interfaith Works and your own work up in the North Thurston School District, and we look forward to seeing that come about in the upcoming year. So thank you. And thanks to all of our contributors tonight. We have one more piece and then we're going to close, but we wanted to just recognize that you're all invited to join us downstairs in the social hall for some snacks and food as we process and fellowship after this event.
We would like to thank the staff, congregation, and leadership of Temple Beth Hatfiloh for their generosity in hosting this event. As well as our monthly program council meetings. And in addition, we would like to extend thanks to everyone who helped create this event. So much thought, intention, just really went into making this what it was today. One of my favorite things about Interfaith Works is that we lean into conversations that can sometimes be difficult. We find commonalities, we find those core values that link us all together, and I think today was a really beautiful display of that. So thank you so much. You're all very appreciated, and we will move into our closing piece.
In closing this afternoon, the choir of Temple Beth Hatfiloh, called Kol HaNeshama, Every Soul, We'll be offering an English interpretive version of the traditional blessing for the traveler, Tfilat HaDerech, literally, prayer for the road. The interpretation was written by the late Debbie Friedman, one of the most prolific and popular composers of modern Jewish liturgical and cultural music. Our director is Lydia Beth Leimbach. Our soloists are Kayla Iverson and Lynn Corral. At the conclusion, as Corey said, please join us downstairs in the social hall.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen.
Sheltered by the wings of peace, may we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be a blessing. Amen.